Hey everyone, welcome to SA Daily Insight. My name is Peter, and today we've got a story that's going to make your head spin, because it's about the very top of South African politics and the kind of corruption that doesn't just hit headlines, but hits the very core of our society. Buckle up, because we're diving into a story that touches the president, major political figures, and a network that's been quietly operating behind closed doors for far too long. Let's start with something that's already got the country talking. A video recently surfaced showing President Cyril Ramaphosa outside the house of businessman Hangwani Maumela. Now, at first glance you might think, okay, so the president was walking in Sandton, big deal. But here's the twist. Hangwani is not just any businessman. He's accused of looting over 2 billion rand from Tembisa Hospital. That's right, 2 billion rand. Money that should have gone to doctors, nurses, and patients instead allegedly ended up lining his pockets. President Ramaphosa's official response? He claims it was a coincidence. Apparently, he didn't even know whose house it was. He was just taking a casual walk in Sandton, bumped into Hangwani's property, and, well, the cameras started rolling. That's the story, at least according to the spokesperson. Now, I don't know about you, but the timing, the location, and the sheer coincidence of it all, it feels a little too neat, doesn't it? A casual walk that just happens to land him outside the mansion of someone accused of one of the biggest fraud scandals in recent history. And to make things even more eyebrow-raising, Hangwani is related to the president through a previous marriage. You see, this isn't just some random encounter on a public street. The connections run deep. Now, the spokesperson tried to clarify, saying that the president walks regularly in that area and it's part of his usual exercise routine. But here's where it gets tricky. The house is in Sandhurst, one of the most exclusive and expensive streets, not just in South Africa, but arguably in all of Africa. You don't stumble into Sandhurst by accident during a morning jog unless you're very intentional about it. And the mansion itself? It's worth over 80 million rand. The Special Investigating Unit has already raided the property, uncovering Lamborghinis, designer furniture, and expensive artwork, all tied to the Tembisa Hospital scandal. This is not some minor affair. We're talking about a man allegedly using 41 companies to siphon over 820 million rand from the hospital alone. The scale of this fraud is mind-boggling, and yet here we are, hearing about a coincidental stroll past his house. Adding another layer to this story, Ramaphosa's spokesperson mentioned that when he became deputy president, he told his immediate family to cut all government business ties. Conveniently, Hangwani was not part of that meeting, because he's not considered immediate family. Convenient, right? And this is where the frustration really sets in. What we see over and over again in South African politics is this predictable cycle. An allegation is made, a denial comes out, the media reports it for a few days, and then the story quietly disappears. Weeks later, most South Africans have already moved on, while the president and those involved walk away untouched. And let's not forget, this isn't just corruption affecting private funds. This is money stolen from a hospital. That's money meant to save lives, to pay medical staff, to help sick children and families. And yet, the headlines fade faster than the pain that corruption causes. Now, just when you think the story couldn't get more tangled, a new layer emerges. Alleged WhatsApp messages between Brown Mogotsi and the ANC Treasurer General have surfaced, and they are explosive. These messages paint a picture of a political network operating almost like a cartel. In these chats, they casually discuss dealing with Fikile Mbalula, as if he's just another obstacle in the way, nothing more. And they mention how Hangwani Maumela has helped countless ANC members. This isn't just casual conversation. This is an indication of influence, and the reach is deep. It's starting to look like Hangwani isn't just connected. He may be leading what's referred to as the Big Five in political corruption circles. Think about that for a second. If Hangwani has that kind of influence, it's almost impossible to believe that President Ramaphosa, someone at the very top of the political hierarchy, could be unaware of it. When you have people this close to you involved in such large-scale schemes, it strains credulity to think it's all happening under your nose, and you have no knowledge of it. The leaks don't stop there. Two new names emerge from these messages: Carien du Plessis, a journalist, and Bejani Chauke, a political strategist. And this is where the story turns darker. If journalists are being recommended or trusted by the same people under suspicion, what does that say about their role in society? Are they meant to investigate corruption and hold power accountable, or are they being co-opted into protecting it? Carien du Plessis' name being trusted within these circles sends a clear signal. The media, at least certain parts of it, may not be acting in the public interest. Bejani Chauke's involvement also makes sense in this context. He managed the CR17 campaign for Ramaphosa, and if money flowed the wrong way during that campaign, it now seems connected to the wider network we're seeing today. From Hangwani to Chauke, from the ANC Treasurer General to Carien du Plessis, it's becoming evident that this isn't a series of isolated incidents. It's a coordinated network where political figures, strategists, and media players protect one another while ordinary South Africans bear the brunt. And if the president knows about this network and stays silent, one has to ask, does silence equal complicity? And while all of this is unfolding, another political drama is playing out in the background. Suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has decided to fight back. He sent a legal letter to the police, the same police investigating him for fraud, corruption, and defeating the ends of justice, accusing them of intimidation. Now, the irony here is hard to ignore. If an ordinary citizen had nothing to hide, they would welcome the investigation, hand over their devices, cooperate fully, and trust the process. That's how you clear your name. But for Mchunu, a man with decades of experience within the police system, suddenly the same process is intimidating. It raises eyebrows, doesn't it? He knows the rules, he knows how investigations work, yet he paints the police as bullies. This is a perfect example of the double standard that has become common in South African politics. When ordinary citizens are investigated, it's justice being served. When powerful figures are investigated, suddenly it's harassment, political targeting, or intimidation. The pattern is clear. Accountability only feels threatening to those with something to hide. And we've all heard the mantra before, if you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to fear. Yet now, for those very same people, the fear is palpable. Connecting all these threads together paints a sobering picture. On one hand, you have the president allegedly passing by the house of a businessman accused of siphoning billions from a hospital. On another, you have leaked messages suggesting that the corruption is coordinated, involving politicians, strategists, and even media figures. And on a third front, you have a suspended police minister challenging the very authority investigating him, claiming intimidation while the rest of us watch the pattern unfold. What emerges from all of this isn't just a series of unfortunate events or coincidental interactions. It's a web, a network of influence, protection, and silence. And the most frustrating part is the cycle that keeps repeating itself. Allegations emerge, denials are issued, media coverage is temporary, and the public's outrage slowly fizzles out while the corrupt continue to operate with impunity. Hospitals lose billions, ordinary citizens suffer, and the system appears to protect the powerful rather than the people. And let's be clear, this isn't some conspiracy theory. The facts are mounting. The mansions have been raided. The messages have been leaked. The legal letters have been sent. And every single thread points to a broader systemic problem that goes beyond one person, one scandal, or one investigation. This is about governance, accountability, and the moral responsibility of those who hold power. Now, some of you might be wondering, what can ordinary South Africans do in a situation like this? It's easy to feel powerless when the very top seems untouchable. But awareness is the first step. Understanding how these networks operate, how they protect one another, and how media cycles distract from accountability is crucial. And speaking out, demanding transparency, and holding leaders to account, these are the only ways the cycle can begin to break. As we reflect on all of this, it's impossible not to feel a mix of frustration, anger, and sadness. Frustration at the audacity of corruption, anger at the double standards and the way power is shielded, and sadness for the countless South Africans whose lives are affected by the diversion of resources that should have been spent on hospitals, schools, and public services. This isn't just politics, it's people's lives on the line. But while the story is heavy, there's also an opportunity here. Opportunity for journalists, for ordinary citizens, for activists, for politicians who still have integrity to shine a light on these networks and demand change. The fact that we are talking about it, the fact that leaks are surfacing, and the fact that accountability processes exist, even imperfectly, is something we can build on. And so, as we continue to watch these stories unfold, Ramaphosa and Maumela, Brown Mogotsi and the ANC Treasurer General, Senzo Mchunu and the police, one thing becomes clear. The fight for transparency and accountability in South Africa is far from over. It's messy, it's complicated, and it's uncomfortable. But it's necessary. Because if we allow these patterns to continue unchecked, the cost is not just financial, it's moral. It's the trust of the people, the integrity of institutions, and the very soul of our democracy. So what does the future hold? Will these revelations shake the system enough to demand action? Will the public continue to let these stories fade, or will they rise, call for accountability, and insist that justice is more than just a phrase we repeat? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. As long as people like us keep talking, keep analyzing, and keep exposing the truth, these stories won't vanish quietly. They will be part of the public consciousness, part of the national conversation, and part of the pressure that drives change. And on that note, I want to thank all of you for tuning in today. I know it's a lot to take in, but it's the reality of South African politics, and it's important we face it head on. My name is Peter. This is SA Daily Insight, and as always, we'll keep bringing you the stories that matter, connecting the dots, and asking the questions that no one else is willing to ask. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and as always, keep your eyes open, because the next twist in this saga is never far away. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.